They ignored your messages, ignored your presence, ignored your value. You spoke and nobody listened. You tried and nobody cared. You stayed loyal to people who only remembered you when they needed something. You watched them give attention to everyone except you. And slowly, something inside you changed. The pain made you quieter. The rejection made you colder. The loneliness made you stronger. While they were busy overlooking you, you were building yourself in silence, discipline, focus, power. And then one day, the world started noticing you. Suddenly, they remembered your name. Suddenly, they wanted your attention. Suddenly, the same people who ignored you could not stop watching you. But by then, you had already learned the truth. The moment you stopped begging to be noticed was the moment they finally saw you. People do not respect potential. They respect power. And tonight, you will understand why being ignored was the greatest thing that ever happened to you. People love to say the world is fair. It is not. The truth is, the world responds to strength. And when people sense weakness, they change the way they treat you. Sometimes quietly, sometimes brutally. When you are unsure of yourself, people interrupt you. When you are too kind, people take advantage of you. When you constantly seek approval, people stop valuing your presence. That is how the world works. Weakness is invisible. Power gets attention. Most people do not ignore you because they hate you. They ignore you because they do not see value yet. That sounds cruel, but it is reality. Human beings are drawn toward confidence, certainty, status, energy. They notice people who command space without begging for it. And when you lack that presence, the world moves around you as if you are not even there. You felt it before. The conversations where nobody listened to your opinion. The rooms where your existence felt invisible. The moments when people only remembered you when they needed something. It hurts because deep down, you know you had more to offer. But pain changes people. At first, you try harder, you become nicer, more available, more understanding. You think if you give enough loyalty, attention, or effort, eventually they will recognize your worth. But that rarely happens, because people often mistake softness for weakness. And weakness does not earn respect. That realization destroys something inside you. You stop expecting fairness. You stop believing effort alone is enough. And slowly you begin to understand a dangerous truth. The world listens differently when power enters the room. Not just money, not just fame. Power in the way you speak. Power in your silence. Power in your discipline. Power in your ability to walk away without needing validation. The moment people realize you no longer need their approval, their behavior changes. Because confidence is rare. Self-control is rare. A person who cannot be emotionally controlled is rare. And rarity gets attention. But before that transformation happens, there is a painful stage everyone goes through. Being overlooked, being underestimated, being treated like you are ordinary. That stage breaks most people. Some become bitter. Some become desperate. Some spend their lives chasing attention from people who never truly valued them. But a few people react differently. A few people disappear into silence. And that silence changes everything. There is a different kind of pain that nobody talks about. Not betrayal, not heartbreak, not failure, being unseen. Being surrounded by people and still feeling invisible. You walk into rooms where nobody notices your presence. You speak, and your words disappear into silence. You give your time, your loyalty, your energy, and somehow it is never enough to matter. That pain changes you slowly. You begin questioning yourself. Maybe I am not good enough. Maybe I am forgettable. Maybe I simply do not matter. And the dangerous part is that you start believing it. Because when the world ignores you long enough, silence begins to sound like truth. You remember those moments. Watching other people get chosen while you stood unnoticed in the background. Watching your effort go unrecognized. Watching people value louder personalities over quieter strength. You smiled through it, pretended it did not hurt, but deep down it did. There is something crushing about giving your best to people who barely acknowledge your existence. It feels like screaming underwater. No matter how hard you try, nobody hears you. And eventually, exhaustion takes over. You stop speaking as much, stop explaining yourself, stop expecting people to understand. Not because you hate them, Because you are tired of proving your worth to people, determined not to see it. That loneliness becomes heavy. You start isolating yourself, not for attention, not to be dramatic, but because being alone hurts less than feeling invisible in a crowded room. And this is where most people break. They become desperate to be noticed. They chase validation. They shape their personality around what others approve of. They lose themselves trying to be seen. But pain has a strange way of creating transformation, because one day, after enough disappointment, something inside you shuts off. You stop begging for attention. You stop chasing approval. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that never respected you. And in that silence, you begin to discover something powerful. The people who ignored you were never defining your value. They were only revealing their blindness. Because diamonds are ignored too, until pressure reveals what they truly are. That is what the pain was doing to you. Pressure, turning insecurity into focus, turning loneliness into independence, turning rejection into fuel. You thought being unseen was destroying you, but it was preparing you for a version of yourself that no longer needs permission to feel important. And the moment that realization hits, you stop chasing attention and start chasing power. The most powerful transformations happen in silence. No announcements, no applause, no one cheering for you while it happens. Just you, alone with your thoughts, alone with the pain, alone with the decision to become someone stronger. This is the stage nobody sees, the late nights, discipline, the moments where you wanted to give up but kept going anyway. While everyone else thought you disappeared, you were rebuilding yourself piece by piece. Silently, you stopped wasting energy trying to convince people of your worth. Instead, you started investing in yourself. Your body changed, your mindset changed, your habits changed. The weak version of you slowly began to die. And the strange part is, nobody notices at first. That is how real transformation works. At the beginning, the world ignores your growth. They do not see the mornings you forced yourself out of bed. They do not see the discipline it took to stay focused while your mind was full of doubt. They only see results. But results are built long before they become visible. That is why silence becomes your greatest weapon. Because silence protects growth. When you stop explaining your goals, people cannot poison them with their opinions. When you stop seeking validation, you become dangerous. Your energy stops leaking into meaningless conversations and starts flowing into progress. And slowly, your entire presence changes. You walk differently, speak differently, think differently. There is less emotion in your reactions and more control in your decisions. The things that once hurt you begin to lose power over you. You no longer chase people who ignore you. You no longer beg for attention. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. That desperation disappears, and confidence takes its place. Not loud confidence, quiet confidence, the kind that does not need approval to feel valuable. That is what scares people most, because the version of you they ignored was searching for acceptance. But the version standing in front of them now does not need anything from them anymore, and people can feel that energy. Suddenly, they start paying attention. The same people who overlooked you begin watching from a distance. The same people who doubted you suddenly become curious, not because they changed, because you did. Pain forced you inward. Silence rebuilt you. Discipline transformed you. And now there is something different in your eyes. Focus. You finally understand that power was never about forcing people to notice you. It was about becoming so strong that their attention stopped mattering. Success changes people, but not in the way most think. It does not just change your lifestyle. It changes how the world looks at you. The same people who ignored your existence suddenly notice your presence. The same people who doubted you suddenly speak your name with respect. The same people who overlooked your value begin acting like they always believed in you. And that is when you see the truth clearly. Most people do not recognize potential. They recognize results. That realization is both powerful and painful. Because you remember everything. You remember being underestimated, being overlooked, being treated like you were not important enough to matter. But now the energy is different. Now they listen when you speak. Now they watch your moves. Now they suddenly want your attention. Not because your soul changed, because your status did. That is how deeply the world responds to power. And the strange thing is, by the time success arrives, you no longer crave their validation anymore. That is the irony. When you were desperate to be seen, nobody noticed you. But the moment you stopped caring, everything changed. Because success creates something rare, presence, not fake confidence, not arrogance, presence. The kind that enters a room quietly and still shifts the atmosphere. People can sense discipline, they can sense focus. They can sense when someone survived pain and turned it into strength. That energy cannot be faked. And suddenly, the people who once ignored you begin treating you differently. Some become supportive, some become jealous, some pretend they were always on your side. But you notice something important. The attention you once begged for no longer feels valuable, because you finally understand your worth was never created by their recognition. It existed before they noticed it. Success did not make you valuable. It revealed the value they were too blind to see. And that changes the way you move through life. You stop chasing approval. Stop lowering yourself for acceptance. Stop explaining your vision to people committed to misunderstanding it. Now your focus is different. You protect your peace, protect your discipline, protect the future you fought to build. And the people who once ignored you, now they watch from a distance, watching your growth, watching your confidence, watching the life they never expected you to create. Not everyone will admit they underestimated you, but their silence will. And in that moment, you realize something powerful. Being ignored was never your weakness. It was the beginning of your transformation. They only noticed you after you stopped needing them. That is the truth nobody wants to admit. When you chased attention, they ignored you. When you searched for validation, they overlooked you. When you gave everything just to be accepted, they treated your presence like it meant nothing. But the moment you turned your focus inward, everything changed. The moment you stopped begging to be seen, they finally saw you. Not because they suddenly became better people, because power changes perception, silence changes perception, discipline changes perception, success changes perception, and by the time they finally recognized your value, you had already outgrown the need for their approval. That is the real transformation. Not becoming famous, not becoming rich, not becoming admired. Becoming free. Free from the need to prove yourself. Free from the fear of being ignored. Free from people who only value you after the world does. Remember this. Some people will only respect you after success forces them to. Let them. Because your journey was never about making them believe in you. It was about finally believing in yourself. So if they ignored you, good. Let the silence shape you. Let the loneliness sharpen you. Let the pain build something unstoppable inside you. And one day, when they look at the person you became, they will realize they ignored someone powerful.